my name is Kristen and this is Kristen Craves the Books. This is probably the most exciting TBR I'm going to do all year because it's my Once Upon a Readathon Treasure Island Edition TBR, and I've said this in multiple videos now, but I am co-hosting this readathon put on by Hannah Blackwell. I'm going to leave the announcement video down below in the Discord and everything that you need to know. This readathon is very conducive to mood reading. You get 100 points no matter what you read. So I can pick anything and get 100 points, which is really nice. And then there are ways to get bonus points. So I'm going to try to stick to that in June. But if you are a true mood reader, you can participate and get points for Team Djinn, that is my team, just by reading anything you want. So I love that. I also have the merch. I love this shirt. There's great conversations happening on the Discord. There are buddy reads, and my TBR is over the top. I didn't put a ton of the buddy reads on my TBR because who knows, maybe I will get to those as well. But there's just so many recommendations happening on the Discord. I'm overwhelmed. So look at this as June hopefuls. These are the books that I'm going to pick and choose from to read. So we're going to have a lot of djinn books. There's quite a few mermaid books on here because you can attack other teams. And then I have a lot of water settings, books by BIPOC and LGBTQIA authors and things like that. So let's do this. It's going to be a long one. I'm overwhelmed just thinking about my TBR, but I'm so excited about this. And the kickoff sprints are happening May 31st on Hannah's channel, so I'll link that down below as well. So let's do this. Because I am co-captain of Team Djinn, I have quite a few djinn books on my TBR. I was really excited when Hannah assigned me to this team because reflecting on it, I realized every book that features djinn that I have read, I have loved. I've never been disappointed by a djinn book. The Golem and the Jinni by Helene Wecker is one of my favorite books of all time. I have quite a few djinn books on my physical TBR and on my TBR in general, so it was actually the perfect team for me. And I think what I'm going to do is read a djinn book and then read it something else, either just a water setting or something that attacks another team, then read a djinn book and just split it up throughout the course of the month. But I'm going to show you all the djinn books that are on my radar. First up is a book I'm sure comes to everybody's mind when they think of books that feature djinn, and I cannot believe I haven't read this. It's been recommended to me so many times, but this is The City of Brass by S.H. Chakraborty. And speaking of this author, I soft DNF'd The Adventures of Amina El-Sarafi because the tone was just not what I was expecting. It was not what I was in the mood for. It's a soft DNF. Maybe I'll get to it this month, but no promises, though that is a perfect book. If you are participating in the readathon, it'll get you a ton of points because there's a ton of mascots in there. It's a water setting, so it's perfect for the readathon. I just don't know that I'm quite in the mood for it, but I've been told that this one tonally is quite different. And for as much hype as this book gets and how often I hear people talk about it, I don't know truly what it's about other than it does feature djinn. And I believe that our main character is living in Cairo and she's a bit of a con artist. She does like palm readings and stuff like that, but she's just been trained for it. She knows it's all kind of fake. And then she ends up summoning a djinn warrior accidentally during one of her cons, and the story unravels from there. And there's 3 books in this trilogy, so if I love this, though it is on the bigger side, I could potentially read the entire series in June and just abandon everything else I have planned. We'll see how I feel about this one in the end, but I have become a series reader, so who knows. But yeah, this is #1 priority, probably the book that I'm going to start the readathon with. And then Fairy Loot really is pulling through. A lot of the books that I have to read from Fairy Loot feature djinn, which is awesome. And the first one is The Stardust Thief by Chelsea Abdullah. And look at this edition. I want to show you underneath the dust jacket as well. It is so pretty, so I cannot believe I haven't read this yet. It's the first book in a series, and there's actually a buddy read happening on the Discord for this one, so if you're interested, please join us. And it says it's inspired by stories from 1001 Nights, and it weaves the gripping tale of legendary smuggler, a cowardly prince, and a dangerous quest across the desert to find a magical lamp. I love desert settings and fantasy. I love magical lamps. I'm very hopeful about this one, though I have heard mixed things. People that I feel like I align in terms of this kind of book have liked it. So I'm intrigued. I'm excited to buddy read it with everyone. Again, it's on the bigger side, but I've been meaning to read this for like a year now, and I think the sequel comes out in November, so now's the time to do this. This next one might be the most beautiful book on my shelves, and this is Spice Road by Maya Abraham. Gorgeous cover, love it. These sprayed edges are beyond stunning. The end papers, the end pages are gorgeous. Look at those illustrations, and then look at this. And then has a Design Under the Dust jacket as well. This is one of the most beautiful books that I own, and I probably won't even read out of this edition because I just can't bear the thought of ruining it. It is so pretty and I love staring at it on my shelves. But this is a YA fantasy featuring djinn. Again, on the longer side. A lot of the djinn stories tend to be long, I've noticed, but this is YA, so hopefully it'll read a little bit more quickly. This is something that I love, not just in fantasy, but in fiction in general, and I love exploring the relationship between brothers and sisters because I have a younger brother myself, and I just find that an interesting relationship to talk about, and that is heavily featured in here. Our main character's brother, I think, has been banished from their community and is practicing some illegal magic that involves spices, which is interesting. I think the magic system in here is going to be something new to me and really intriguing, and again, just a beautiful, beautiful book. So there are actually djinn featured in here, so I'm going to read you the first paragraph of the synopsis. It says, with her affinity for iron, 17-year-old Imani can wield a dagger like no other, and for that she has gained a reputation as the next greatest shield, battling djinn, ghouls, and other monsters spreading across the sands. So I'm looking forward to her kicking some djinn butt. I think that will be really fun and, again, stunning. And then the rest of the djinn books I don't physically own but have access to via Scribd, Libby, Kindle Unlimited, things like that. So the first one is This Woman Kingdom by Tahereh Mafi. I've heard about this book for a while. I've been intrigued by Tahereh Mafi's books for ages. This is another YA fantasy on the longer side, but I think this one leads more towards fantasy romance, and the little tagline says, clashing empires, forbidden romance, and her long forgotten queen destined to save her people. So it's actually a trilogy, so who knows. It's inspired by Persian mythology. And where are the djinn? Yeah, she's a long lost heir to a djinn kingdom, so I kind of love that. So a lot of different takes on djinn throughout the books that I am reading. And then, as I said before, Helene Wecker is one of my favorite authors who wrote djinn, but I've read both of the books in the Golem and the Jinni series. But she does have a short story collection in this anthology that I found called The Djinn Falls in Love and Other Stories. So maybe more on the lighthearted side, but there are a lot of great authors contributing to this, and I think this is under 300 pages, which is refreshing compared to the other djinn books that I have. But Neil Gaiman has a story in here, which is interesting. And then, of course, as I said, Helene Wecker has one, and Nnedi Okorafor. So some really interesting authors contributed to this collection, and I can't wait to dip my toe in and out of that one. I want to be a anthology reader, and I love djinn stories. I love romance. We'll see how I feel about that one. I read my first book by P. Djeli Clark a couple months ago. It was Ring Shout, and I really liked it, so I've been wanting to explore more of his backlist, and this is the perfect time because he has a whole universe that he's created, and it's called the Dead Djinn universe, so it is perfect. Master of Djinn is the first full-length novel in this whole world, and I don't think I will have time to get to that one, but I would like to read like the short stories and the novellas that come before that first book, and there are two of those, and I've heard good things about them. So the first one is A Dead Djinn in Cairo, and that is a short story. It's like 50 pages. And then the novella is called The Haunting of Tramcar 015. So who knows? I don't know what these are really about, but I think it'll be fun to read those two things. So I'll be set up to read A Master of Djinn when the time comes for that. I just don't think June is the time, and I need some shorter things, and those look perfect and have been recommended to me. Okay, we're gonna move on from the djinn stuff, and now we're just into more water settings. The first one is Meet Me at the Lake by Carly Fortune. I was sent an ALC of this from Libro FM, so thank you to them. And I was gonna read it right away, but I told myself it's perfect to read in June for the readathon, so I saved it, and I've just been eagerly awaiting the chance to read it. Though it has been getting mixed reviews, but that was true for her debut Every Summer After, and I had a fun, messy time with that. So I'm hoping that this one is similar. It is set at a lake close to where I live, in the area where I live in Canada, and I think it's just going to be super nostalgic. This seems to be the kind of romances that Carly Fortune writes, and it works for me. If you're Canadian, I think you'll relate to the stories, and it's second chance romance. I'm open to it. I really like the first one. I'm trying not to let the mixed reviews affect me. And then, what is better than the idea of an adult summer camp? This book I don't even think is out at time of filming, but this is That Summer Feeling by Bridget Morrissey. This is like an adult summer camp where this woman realizes that she is attracted to another woman. She meets a man at this summer camp who she used to have a past with and ends up falling for his sister, and she's recently divorced, and I think it's just discovering herself in her later in life. And I'm hoping that we get all of the summer camp vibes that you would expect in like a YA novel version of this, but with adults. I think that is just so fun. I would love to go to a summer camp right now. And then we have another romance, Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is another one that Librefem sent me a copy of, and I'm assuming this was by the water. I think they're on holidays by the water and they are jumping in the lake and the cover, so they have to be. I've only read one other book by Emily Henry, and that was Book Lovers, and I didn't like it. So I don't think I've read enough to say whether or not Emily Henry is an author for me, so I'm going to try this one because I have access to it. It works perfectly for the readathon. There's a buddy read happening on the Discord, so it's now or never for me. And again, this is a second chance romance. We're following a couple who have recently separated but haven't told any of their friends, and I've heard that it's not as romantic or like as lighthearted as you might think with that, so we'll see how I feel. Then I have a pirate book. I needed a pirate book because I have to attack the pirates, have to attack Maggie's team, and I have historically not liked pirate books. I want to like pirate books. I'm determined to find one that I love. So The Wicked Bargain by Gabe Cole Navoya looks like it could be a contender for me. This is a YA fantasy. I love this cover. The main character is a trans masked non-binary teenager who has magic and can manipulate fire and ice, which I think is so awesome. And they are on a revenge mission on a ship in the sea. So there's so many things about this I could love. I love a good revenge story. It says Al Diablo was in the details in this Latinx pirate fantasy starring a transmasculine non-binary teen with a mission of revenge, redemption, and revolution. So I'm hopeful about this one. I think that if I'm gonna like any pirate book, this will be the one. I do have one more pirate book, and there must be mermaids in this as well. It is called The Mermaid, the Witch, and the Sea, and this is by Maggie Taekwondo Hall. A desperate orphan turned pirate and a rebellious imperial daughter find connection on the high seas in a world divided by colonialism and threaded by magic. This is one that was just recommended in the Discord. I had not heard about before, but it will get a lot of points. I love the cover for this. I needed more pirate books, so I added it to my TBR. It is on Scribd, I believe. I thought I found it on Scribd, so I'm gonna give that one a try. Then I have some mermaid books here. Mermaid books are easy for me to find. I do love a good mermaid book. So the first one is a new release called When Oceans Rise by Robin Alvarez. And I think a lot of us are probably gonna go see the live action version of The Little Mermaid in June. I know I will be watching it. And then I'm gonna want to read some retellings. So that is perfect for this. When Oceans Rise is a Filipino retelling of The Little Mermaid. And our main character is in an abusive relationship, and she's just realizing this. And she kind of turns from the sea and meets a sea witch who makes her a bargain to give up her voice in order to have a past where she never met her boyfriend. And then this all goes wrong. There's like an alternate universe where Filipino mythical creatures are coming to life and stuff, and the sea witch is taking over. So this sounds really interesting to me. This is a stunning cover, and I just know I'm gonna want a Little Mermaid retelling, so I added this to my TBR. I read Into the Drowning Deep last month, but I do want to let you know that a buddy read for that is happening on the Discord, so if you're interested in that, please check that out. I love that book. But that made me want to read all the Siren books. All I want is Killer Mermaids, and I found a couple. The first one is a novella. It's called The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Kah. And this is a razor sharp and bewitching fairy tale of discovering the darkness in the world and the darkness within oneself. You may think you know how the fairy tale goes. A mermaid comes to shore and weds a prince, but what the fable forgets is that mermaids have teeth. Yes, that is all I want in my life. I'm so excited, and I have access to the audiobook, so thrilled about that, and it's on the shorter side. Chlorine, I have this from Librefem as well. Been waiting for June. This was one of my most anticipated books of the year. It's by Jade Song. Again, this is like a Killer Mermaid kind of thing. It's a debut novel that blurs the line between a literary coming-of-age narrative and a dark, unsettling horror tale told from an adult perspective on the trials and tribulations of growing up in a society that puts pressure on a young woman and their bodies. A powerful, relevant novel of immigration, sapphic longing, and a fierce, defiant becoming. And our main character is so in love with the water and swimming that she wants to become a mermaid, and it gets dark. And doesn't that just sound fantastic? And then I had to put a Darcy Coates on here. I read Gallows Hill, and it wasn't my favorite, but I did really enjoy it. And the more time I'm away from it, the more I appreciate it. And actually a lot of people have recommended From Below specifically to me. Cassidy from Covers with Cassidy. I just saw Sid put a review of this out, so I'm gonna link to her video down below so you can get an idea of what this is about. But I just love the idea of underwater horror. That is all I want. So this looks perfect for an underwater setting. I don't think there's mermaids in here, but it's dark horror underwater. that is what I'm looking for. Perfect for the readathon. And now what sounds better than a slasher aboard a cruise ship? I don't think there's anything better than that, so I added Lying in the Deep by Diana Urban to my TBR. So this is a juicy mystery of jealousy, love, and betrayal set on a semester at sea inspired cruise ship with a diverse cast of delightfully suspicious characters who will leave you guessing with every jaw-dropping twist. So our main character, her ex-boyfriend and her best friend had an affair behind her back, and they were all on this cruise ship. People start dying. Sounds like a good time to me. Perfect summer read. And then my last one is on a completely different note. I feel like everybody needs a graphic novel during a readathon, and this one is actually on Kindle Unlimited, so it is perfect. And this is Aquacorn Cove by Katie O'Neill, who wrote The Tea Dragon Society, which would be great for the readathon if you're on Team Dragon, or you can attack them. Team Dragon are my allies, so I won't be reading Dragon books in June, but just in case you are on Team Dragon, those are good ones to check out. So this is when Lena and her father return to their seaside hometown to help clear the debris of a storm. The last thing she expects to discover is a colony of aquacorns, magical sea-like residents of the coral reef. So this just sounds really cute. I love the illustrations in this. And again, it's on Kindle Unlimited. It'll be perfect when I feel like I've read a lot of chunky djinn novels. I will break it up with this. And there are tons more I could have added. I probably won't stick to this. I will probably be tempted by a lot of the buddy reads. There's some great ones on there, like Daughter of the Pirate King's happening to kill a kingdom. There are tons of them, so you'll have to check that out. So if you are participating in the readathon, let me know what team you're on, and if it's not Team Djinn, who are you? And let me know what your TBR is. If you've posted a TBR anywhere, please let me know, and be sure to link your TBRs to the Instagram as well. I can't wait for the readathon to start. And yeah, to read all of the djinn and water setting books that I can get my grubby hands on. So thank you again for your support. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye for now.